lion's share. It's the lion's share. It's the lion's share. It's the lion's share.
Welcome back. Welcome in to the lion's share. It is roster cut season. That's right. All 32 teams have whittled their rosters down to 53. And if you're the Lions, it's down to 52. So we're going to try to solve that mystery. Why is there just one remaining? And we'll talk about the musical chairs that have transpired since the Lions made their cuts. They've brought back quite a few of these guys to the practice squad. Some familiar names on there, of course. And we got to talk about the big news of the day, which is Tim Patrick is no longer a Detroit Lion. That's right. He is off to Jacksonville. So we're going to talk about that. We will follow it up with some NFL talk, and then we'll close it with closing time as per usual. Thank you, shareholders, for being here. You could watch us on Spotify video as well as YouTube video if you want to see these faces. One face that is not here. There is one face missing from this oh-so-great podcast, and a valued member is gone from us tonight. Andrew, have we also made some roster cuts here? Is Mitch no longer on the active roster here?
Usually when you have to let somebody go, you don't bring their names up again in building. You know, that's for others to speculate, get the media buzzing, but in-house, you usually got to keep it under wraps, keep it a tight ship.
Damn, yeah, you're right. Dan would not approve of how we just handled that. Tommy, I'm going to need you to cut all of that section. And actually, let's just take it again. Let's take two. Just kidding. But Mitch, we miss you. We know you're involved in some traveling right now, so we hope that the travels are safe, and we will be back with him on the next episode, which we've actually already recorded. We'll talk more about that. It's the big prediction show coming this weekend on Labor Day. So hope you all are ready for that and ready for your Labor Day weekend. Let's get into it, Andrew. Tommy has one of his favorite players on this team was none other than Timmy Two Hands, Tim Patrick, the vet, the wide receiver. We talked a lot about him, what the role he was going to play, and how IT's been climbing the ranks. Mitch said by the end of the year he thought IT would take that role from Tim Patrick. Well, it happened a little quicker than we thought. So Tim Patrick to the Jaguars for a 6th rounder. So rest in peace to anybody that has a Tim Patrick jersey. I'm sure there's not that many of you. But were you surprised to see that Tim Patrick is no longer on this team?
I'll answer your question first. Absolutely surprised. To the slander and the side shot at Timmy Patrick about the low jersey sales is a little outrageous. I remember back last season, you and I begging for him to get a touchdown. He was the Todd Stevens of the Detroit Lions, could get tackled anywhere but in the end zone, and he was fighting for one, and he finally got his touchdown. I'm pretty bummed to see him go. Mainly because listening to him talk preseason and in training camp, you know, his thoughts were, I'm number 4 on the depth chart right now. That means I have to be better than the other team's 4th best cornerback. That's easy work. And I was very excited for him to exceed in this position. I mean, this was the role that, Donovan Peoples-Jones was supposed to have a few years ago and just could not fill the shoes. We got Tim Patrick, and he came out, and I think the first thing that we all noticed was his blocking ability. And all I hear from IT in his interviews is how much he can bring to the team, especially in the run and the blocking game. And it does feel like they're now all in on IT, and good for Mitch on making the call. They technically was correct. Did take his spot before the end of the season.
Well, and it begs the question, Andrew. You had touched on it when he brought that topic up about who is the wide receiver 3. Is it him or is it Leaf? And so now Tim Patrick's out of the building. So do you think Leaf takes that 3rd wide receiver role for a bit, or do you think IT is already there? Do you think they believe in him that much?
I think it's a little bit of mix of both, right? Because it seems like IT. I don't know how tall Leaf is. I believe he's a little bit shorter.
He's a short guy, I believe. Yeah, you're right. I think he's right around 6 foot.
What'd you say? Around?
I think he's around 6 foot. Yeah.
Okay. So it seems like he's more of the Amon-Ra breather guy.
Can I correct that? Because I was way off. I thought he was closer to 5'10", 5'11". He's 5'8".
Oh boy, he is very short. He's regular.
Tommy cut that.
He feels more like the quick speed guy, Probably going to be returning punts still. Not sure after he got injured doing it last year. But, he feels like he's give Amon-Ra breather type of guy, and IT is a little bit different of a breed. He's, 6'4". He's going to climb the ladder. He's going to get those ones in the back of the end zone. He can run, and you've seen he can catch the 9 ball. It doesn't have to be something high. He can catch the go routes.
Absolutely, and I think you said it. All of it right there is I think with the preseason performance that we've seen from IT, we've been ecstatic about what he's been doing. Lions fans, shareholders all alike have been thrilled with how he really hasn't even progressed. He really just jumped on the scene. He didn't even really grow into the role. He just kind of jumped right into it. And so preseason performance was above their bar, and I think they were ready to move on, and probably a little sooner than they were expecting to, the front office, that is, about Tim Patrick. But I think it's a classic situation. We've seen this front office do it before. They want to get value out of their guys before they're off to free agency, and Tim Patrick would have been a free agent following this season, and they probably were under the impression that IT was going to definitely be at this point now that he's at now by the end of the season. And so since he's ahead of schedule, you can move on and feel comfortable with IT and his performance, and also get a 6th-rounder, which it's always hard to evaluate a trade, but I feel like to get a 6th-rounder out of him is not a bad deal with one year remaining on his contract.
Question, do we trade with the Jags in the draft?
What do you mean by that?
Did we trade with them to move up at some point in the draft? Because I feel like we sent them a pick to move up.
Are you saying like this could be the Lions pick back to us?
Yeah, I don't think
so.
Okay, no, not the case.
Because I did see, just to interject real quick, I did see that this was a traded pick, but it was traded from the Seahawks. So if it wasn't this pick in particular, because this pick came from the Seahawks to the Jags, now with the Lions.
Okay, because I was thinking we traded with the Jags at some point to move up, and I thought that would just be full circle if we got our pick back.
That would be funny, and it would be. Don't put it past Dan and Brad to do that. That's a move that's right up their wheelhouse. Interestingly enough, Daniel Thomas, the safety from Jacksonville, not involved in this trade, but they did pick him up kind of right after the trade hit the wire this morning early, about 7 a.m. Eastern. I think this Tim Patrick trade hit the news. And then shortly after, we saw Daniel Thomas, who was recently cut from the Jaguars. So not involved in the trade for Tim Patrick, but Daniel Thomas jumps over after being cut. Lions bring him in, and then they followed up with 2 defensive linemen. I believe one of the last names is Wheat. And another, yes, precisely what I was thinking. And another that I don't remember, but bolstering up that defensive line, specifically more in the interior. I think one was interior D-line, the other was defensive end. The other news was Ahmed, the rookie there out of Boise State, got cut, and also Dan Skipper. Those were probably the 2 names, and Hendon Hooker, but that one, especially after the last preseason game, really came as no surprise. And we'll talk Hendon here in a minute, but were you surprised, Andrew, about the Dan Skipper thing? Is that more of an emotional, of a Detroit guy type of thing, where it's hard to see him go, not so much the performance, but the locker room presence he brings?
I don't know if it's so much that. I mean, I think we all know he's a backup, if not a third-string guy, but he's also a 6'10", 326-pound human being, and he got lots of snaps last year, and it's nice to be able to bring in the beef, so to speak, right, and run the ball. I think that's where the crazy part is, and I forget the guy that beat him out. JJ.
Is it Jones?
Yeah, Jacoby Jones, something like that, I believe. And I had heard that he just straight out worked him and outplayed him in training camp. So, yeah, sorry to see him go. He will be a practice squad guy, and he'll get brought up if there's injuries. It's just going to happen. He's honestly probably going to get swapped out for Manu, is my thoughts, is they're going to then send Manu to the practice squad and bring Dan Skipper up. That's my thoughts. So, yeah, it was a little shocked at first, and then you can kind of see the big picture as things play out. Just wanted to follow up. We did get another guy from Jacksonville. That was the interior defensive lineman. His name is Tyler Lacey.
Lacey, that was the other one, yeah. So Tyrus Wheat and Tyler Lacey. So Tyrus and Tyrell, or Tyrus and Tyler, and also the name that you were referring to at the tackle position, the right tackle specifically behind Panay, who allegedly beat out Dan Skipper, is Jamarco Jones.
Jamarco, okay, yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do.
And he's a veteran guy. He played his football at Ohio State in college, and then joined a Seahawks draft pick in 2018 in round 5. And so he's 29 years old. So he's been around. He's kind of been jumped around teams, but he is the one that beat out Dan Skipper. But like you touched on, Andrew, Dan Skipper is back on the practice squad, along with Jackson Meeks. That was the other name that I meant to throw out earlier, wide receiver, who kind of shined in the preseason a little bit. We were debating on the last podcast whether the Lions would take that last spot for Meeks at the wide receiver position, or if they would let him hit waivers and clear waivers and then rejoin as the practice squad. And luckily for the Lions, a lot of their guys were not claimed off of waivers, and they were able to bring back guys like Jackson Meeks, who I'm super excited for Jackson Meeks. I hope he can stick with it on the practice squad and eventually join the active roster. And Ronnie Bell, and of course none other than Tom Kennedy, is still finding his way in Allen Park in Detroit. He's still around on the practice squad. A couple other names, Ukwu, the edge, who's been on and off this team, and then Michael Neese, a center, who, with a brand new center, or not necessarily a brand new center, but a Glasgow shifting over to center, you really do feel like they need somebody there for some insurance at the offensive line, especially at the center position.
You brought up some massive names there, all names that I wanted to touch on as well. Ronnie Bell, like you were saying, I heard he was a standout in camp as well. My one thing is I thought we were going to get another tight end since Laporta's a little banged up right now. We got, I think it's Zach Horton on the practice squad there.
Correct.
But to just go back a little bit to the Meeks part, because I think we were all a little thrown off on that. What happened with Meeks is like clearly shows you the difference of a drafted guy versus an undrafted free agent. Meeks, the undrafted free agent, gets cut. We love it. Makes the actual roster, and I think that's also going to be another trade-off where they bring Meeks to the team, and Lovett might go back down to the practice squad. I think that might be another change, or they just send down Lovett and they bring up another lineman, just depending on games. I think that might be the Dan Skipper switch out as well. It could be in there. But, you see a drafted guy then hit the waivers. I think that draws a little more attention to him rather than the undrafted free agents.
And I think you saw a kind of an emphasis on bolstering up the depth of the defense, especially. Feels like they went a little heavier on the defense this year, and maybe that's in response to last year and how many injuries they had on defense, and just how quickly after the first string things can go downhill in a hurry with this team. So I think they went a little heavier on defense, but like you said, Lovett does make the roster, and it's interesting. They only bring a true 5 receivers on this roster. We thought at one point they may bring 7. They've only got 5, and they're able to take a little bit less on the offense and spend some more on the defense, especially with Hendon Hooker getting cut, because now you only have 2 quarterbacks, so you've got Jared and then Kyle right behind him. So like you said, Andrew, though, some of these guys on the practice squad, and I also wanted to throw out a name at the tight end position. So you have Laporta, obviously, at the 1, and then Brock Wright behind him. Old Brock Wright. Brock and roll. And then Zylstra, still here, by the way. And then Kenny Yeboah. So they do have 4 at the tight end position. And Yeboah's on IR. So technically not on the active roster, not ready to play, not able to play, of course. But so that's probably why they didn't bring Horton. Here's a who. Zach Horton at the tight end position. That's probably why they brought him back on the practice squad and not on the active rosters, because they're saving that spot for Yeboah. And maybe that's why they only went with 5 receivers, is to bring out a few extra tight ends and then bring 3. While they're light on wide receiver on the active roster, they have 3 pretty solid wide receivers with Meeks, Tom Kennedy, and Ronnie Bell on the practice squad. So, they're kind of leveraging, and they've done this in the past, Brad and Dan. They really leverage that practice squad and are able to bring guys up and down kind of almost weekly. And that's kind of been their mentality. So I guess that's what they were thinking by bringing 3 more wide receivers there on the practice squad and not on the active roster.
Yep, I think you're right. And just because we're on the active roster, how did we get to 53 men? Like, where did this number come from? Do you know?
That's a great question for the shareholders out there. Where did they land? How did they get to 53? Because I believe they start, obviously they're under 100. I know that. It's not like college where you have duplicate numbers. In the NFL, it's always been probably like around 80, 90, right? In training camp. And then they whittle it down, drop about 20, 30 of them off the team, off the active roster, and you get down to 53. Obviously, you have 11 guys on each side of the ball, so you need about 22. I'm trying to see if there's any math there. Double 22 is 44, plus a 9, that's 53. I don't know.
That's what I mean. I don't know where they're getting it because I think what is the practice squad, like 15 or 18 guys, like something along those lines as well.
Yeah.
And you would think, adding games onto the season, and I hate to bring up this topic because I heard it from another source, so hate to follow suit. But everybody knows a great question. Where did we get this number? Why are we on this number? We've added games to the regular season since that number. Why are things not evolving with it as well on the active roster?
Well, let's ask. Let's ask what the AI has to say.
Ooh, love me some AI questions. This could be our Spencer Rattler moment of the week.
Yeah, we're not ready for that. So this will be a good filler until we have a Spencer Rattler moment of the week. Other than he's been named the starter, so good for Spencer. We can't wait for that. Let's see. To balance fielding a competitive team and adhering to the salary cap. So I guess it's probably the collective bargaining agreement plays into this. The league believes 53 is an optimal number to allow teams to build a competitive roster and manage their salary cap. And so 53 players, 46 of them dress for a game, 5 inactives. And then, like you said, Andrew, 16 is the number for the practice squad. So 53 plus 16, you get 69. That's the technical NFL full roster because they do count the practice squad in that, obviously. So
nice.
69. All right, where do we go from here? So Dan Skipper, we talked about him. Mitch had this to say: no shocking moves for me. Hooker had to go to get a fresh start. We agree with that. Cutting Skip shows maturity from the front office. Fan favorite or not, time to produce. I really like that line from Mitch. I know you're listening. Shout out to you. We miss you. I agree wholeheartedly with that comment. We're at that point where it's changed a lot since we first started this podcast, Andrew, when we were first talking about roster cuts. That was a big deal. I mean, there was a lot of guys that, of the 53 that made the team, there was probably only 20, 25 of them that we were like, these were guaranteed to make the team. Outside of that, it was a wide open field. And now we're at such a point where we pretty much knew going into yesterday, I should say, when the 53-man was released, we pretty much knew, probably 45 of these guys were locks on the roster. So it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have when you're making some of these tough, emotional guys cut from the team, because it's just a sign of maturity, like Mitch said.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's crazy when you have guys that want to fight for a spot on the practice squad even. And I'll go back to the Scary Terry talks here, and I've said this to several people. I'm just so glad the Lions organization is finally at a point where we don't have players like Scary Terry, right? He's going to do a hold-in because he has a contract, but he just wants more money on that contract. It's just crazy to me. And then, of course, they appease to him, so every other star is going to get their way because you just have to appease them because that's what everybody does. But it's not what happens in Detroit. You get drafted, you produce, they give you a contract, and it's a fair contract. They've made guys the number one paid players in their position. Jack Fox. Was Amon-Ra the number one wide receiver at one point?
I don't believe he ever got that, because I think CeeDee Lamb and a few others are higher than him, and were higher than him when he got his deal.
Okay.
Because he was early. He was early.
Okay. Kirby got his. Taylor got his. Panay got his.
Hutch will get his soon.
Hutch will get his. Like, so there are guys, and it's like, it's not a trust the program type of thing because you've seen the program work. You know what I mean? So it feels like a sure thing, and you've got guys that just want to do that and come and produce. I mean, geez, you got Ahmed, who says he'd literally die for Dan Campbell on the field, and he tears a pec, and he's not going to play at all. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we want to touch on that. That was a surprise to a lot of people, too. With the injury designation, he gets cut. However, I think I have this understanding correctly. When he is eligible to return, any team can pick him up of the 32 before the Lions waiver priority, which is way down at like 28, 27. I don't know how it shakes out now that some teams have picked up on waivers, including Hendon Hooker to the Panthers. But yeah, so Ahmed is free to sign with any other team, although they may have some sort of gentleman's agreement that he wouldn't accept any other team besides the Lions. I think that's more of what it is, and I hope I'm not misspeaking there. But that's what it seems like to me. If you let him explore that opportunity after the injury designation expires, you got to feel like you wouldn't let a rookie walk like that.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I mean, I'm also trying to put myself in the shoes of 31 other teams and general managers who, how much risk are they going to take on somebody who's played 0 NFL snaps that just tore his pec?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, too. I think that plays into it. So I guess my point is they don't feel like they're out anything by cutting him, opening up that roster spot, and then being able to bring him back in a couple weeks, which I think is what the injury designation, I think, is good for 3 or 4 weeks. They didn't want to put him on IR, is my feeling towards that. And so this was the route they chose. And there's always going to be, Dan and Brad have always been conjuring up ideas of how to work these. These guys are experts on managing all this, and we trust them. And to your point, Andrew, about Detroit being a destination, it absolutely is. You've got guys that are dying to play here. They just want to play for Dan. And to your point, they get rewarded for it if you show up here and do the work and be the guy that, if you aren't a turd, to their own words, no turds policy for Dan and Brad. I think that's the point you were getting at about Scary Terry is, if you're going to be a turd, we're going to show you the door. And that wasn't the case with Tim Patrick. He did everything he needed to do, but business decision at the end of the day.
I'm glad you said that too in those exact wordings, because I mean, take me back a couple years, go to Hard Knocks. Dan Skipper had his emotional moment. Is there anything else I can do? No. You gave it everything, and it still wasn't enough for this team. And credit to Dan for sticking through it, because here he is again. And is there anything I could have done? Probably not. You know what I mean? And they're going to give it everything, and it's a tough team to make.
It is. It's getting tougher and tougher with how filled out this roster is. I mean, I have in the notes, it's stacked. Dan said this, I quote, "This is the best we felt about the roster top to bottom." And I think he's right. I mean, it's really, speaking to that maturation process that Mitch touched on, it's really healthy what they've grown into, and it's hard to find holes in this roster, especially at the starting positions. I think you do have some holes in the depth. That's probably my biggest concern at some of these positions. Depth continues to be an issue, but it is a really solid roster top to bottom. And, in the past, we've been real concerned about the defensive secondary, a couple positions in the defense. But man, the offense, wide receiver core is stacked. Offensive line has some new pieces that we feel pretty good about, but we'll see when the time comes. Running backs are solid, and then the defense also very solid with the pickups they've had, like DJ Reed at the cornerback position, and the linebacking core is really strong. Defensive line is still kind of figuring out its identity, but they've got their animal. They've got Aiden on one edge, and then the rest of the guys, Aleem and others. Aleem's not in the lineup right now, but you hope that Tyleek and DJ Reader are those guys right up front, and then Aleem can step in, and this defensive line has a full identity, and knock on wood, is healthy for the whole year.
Let me get that knocking down, because we talked about it last year. That was literally the only thing that derailed the season. That feels like that's going to be the only thing that could happen again here. So let's not even talk about it.
No, forget it. Forget it. We even said it, shareholders. Cross your fingers, knock on wood.
Who was the one thing I couldn't remember? Who was the offensive tackle we drafted out of LSU? He plays guard.
Miles Frazier.
Where did he make the roster, please?
Yes, he's good. He's on IR. I believe he's on IR because he is not not eligible. I shouldn't say he's not eligible. He won't return from his injury from college until what I've heard is probably week 8 or in that range. So probably near or around the bye week.
Whoa. Did not know that. Do we know the injury? I didn't know he was even injured, honestly.
Yeah, he was injured coming out of the draft. I believe he's. Oh my God, that's loud. Why don't you talk to the shareholders real quick while I look this up?
Come on over and take a seat. I don't know what to talk to you guys about, but we can talk about, I don't know, maybe the Hutchinson deal. That's gonna be a big dollar amount. I don't even know what defensive ends are going to get yearly. But I think he's going to break the bank. You think he'll be the number one guy overall, number one paid overall? The end?
It's going to be hard to beat.
TJ?
It's going to be hard to beat. What's that?
Wait, is TJ not number one anymore?
Is TJ number one or is Myles Garrett number one?
Oh, I forgot. I forgot.
They're close, right? Both of them are close.
He wanted a contender. Yep.
All of $40 million a year, right? And maybe a little north of 40 even. I know obviously Trey Hendrickson got his raise and we'll probably be looking for more to come after this season. TJ Watt.
Yeah, the Trey Hendrickson thing was weird to me. Got no contract extension, just more money this year just seemed weird. And yeah, you're right. Myles Garrett, I forgot. Wanted to be on a contender, and then he saw dollar signs. He was like, I'm okay with this average Browns squad. That's quite all right. He is basically averaging 40 a year over 4 years.
And TJ is 41. So they're basically, a wash between the two. But yes, TJ Watt. So you got to imagine Hutch is right in that line. And it sounds like we might get that Hutch deal before the season even starts this year.
Really? What's the rumblings there?
I think I sent it in our group chat a week or so ago. They're both sides are at the table. They're working towards it, and I would not be surprised. Maybe I'm putting myself out there with this, but I would not be surprised if in the next 10 days we have a Hutch deal.
Are we going to put a guarantee on that?
Yeah, I'll put a guarantee on that. I just think who was it right before last season? Was it Aleem that got his contract right before the season? There was somebody within the week of the season, or was Aleem in the middle of the season?
I thought that was Taylor Decker.
There's too many to remember.
Because Taylor kept getting told to wait his turn. Yours is coming. Then it was seemed like it hit right there before the season.
I was thinking it was Aleem, but Aleem might have been in the middle of the season.
I was just going to ask, too, do you think if we do get a groundbreaking Hutch deal, if it doesn't happen in 10 days, do you think it comes in the middle of the season, or do they then just wait till the end of the year?
That one's so big. I feel like if it doesn't happen before the season, maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems like such a blockbuster deal that it doesn't happen in the middle of the season. I don't know that's wrong of me to say. It just doesn't feel like it would happen.
Well, especially a guy coming off of injury, right? It's hard to make him the highest paid player and at the position in the middle of a season.
And maybe that's what the two sides are kind of discussing right now certainly I would think the Lions want to make this deal now and maybe get him at a certain price that's probably just under TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, so maybe like $38 million. Just throwing a number out there. And Aiden's probably in the feeling that he wants to be the highest paid or near right there at the $40 million mark. And does he want to? Him and his agent, I guess, maybe more so his agent. Do they want to leverage that year here coming up to try to get that number maybe to 45 come off season, because you know the salary cap's going to go up. The price always goes up for these guys. So I'm just throwing a number out there. It's probably the next number is 45 million a year for the next contract that comes up. So is he going to wait for 48.5 or will he take 38 right now? I don't know.
45 is a round number. Boy, that makes me sick to say something like that somebody can
now we're talking
a year. But like Deshaun Watson does exist.
Yeah, exactly. If he's 45, think back to, like, hypothetically, if Aiden is 45 million a year, think back to when Jared contracts were up and we were hoping to get Jared for 45 million a year. All of a sudden, one of our edges is going for the ballpark that we wanted Jared Goff at. So just crazy.
Yeah,
crazy that the numbers that they're throwing out there. Even more crazy. Look into NBA contracts. The Supermax contracts are insane. Some of these guys are making $70 million a year. That's almost $1 million a game at 82 games a year.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's crazy. And strap in for the Jack Campbell, too, because he is clearly running this defense and they love him. It's just you don't see Jack Campbell on social media because he doesn't have it. He's just like the quietest stud of all time. And linebackers are going for a lot of money.
Yes, they are. Yeah, a lot of guys going for a lot of money. So I don't know, to answer your question about Hutch. I don't know. But I would hope, my hope is that they get something done before the season and then they can kind of, I guess the downside is if he has like defensive player of the year type of a year, then yeah, $45 million a year or so. So anyway, enough about Hutch. Going back to Miles Frazier and his injury, he had a knee injury and he's had knee surgery. And that was handled by the Lions medical staff. So he's on the PUP list right now. And according to Dan Campbell, expected in October. So it kind of lines up with that week, maybe before the bye, maybe if he's ahead of schedule, maybe week 5 to 8 before the bye or right after the bye, which is week 8.
This is who? Aleem?
Sorry, Miles Frazier.
Okay.
Going back to him because to your point, I'm sure you're going to bring up something about the offensive line with Miles Frazier. So I wanted to touch you on that. Not touch you on that. That sounds weird.
You can
roll that back. Consent.
Roll
nice.
it all the way back.
All the way back. This is what happens when Mitch isn't here. But Miles Frazier is somebody that, by all accounts, could be a future starter on this offensive line.
100%. Maybe not this year by any means, but like, do you have the 53 man pulled up?
Yes.
Okay? Can you run through the linemen that we did bring?
All right, I did have it. Here we go. Oh no, I've clicked on the wrong link.
Tough.
Please hold. Please hold. Please
Here's
hold.
who we
Please
brought
hold. Please.
through on the practice squad: Tristan Colon, Mason Miller, Michael Neese, and Dan Skipper.
Okay, so on the starters, in starting at the left tackle, Taylor Decker. Oh my gosh, what is going on with my voice? Taylor Decker, Giovanni Manu, and Justin Herron, who is on IR, by the way. Christian Mahogany and Miles Frazier are your two left guards. This is just what they're listed. Some of these guys can play multiple positions, but this is what their depth chart is listed at. Mahogany and then Frazier on the PUP list right now, so not eligible. Graham Glasgow at the center position, followed by Kingsley Eguakwan. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that last name. That was somebody that was kind of interchangeably with Michael Neese. A lot of people thought Michael Neese would be the one that makes it, and then Kingsley would be the practice squad, but it's actually flip-flopped. And then Tate Ratledge at your right guard, followed by Awashika Sheik. Who could forget him from the last couple of years? He's shown to be a decent option at guard, and I think he's played some tackle even maybe at times too. And then old Colby Sorsdahl, who's on IR right now, so still on this team, but on IR. And then at right tackle, none other than Penei Sewell, of course, followed by the one we've touched on, Jamarco Jones.
Okay, yeah, and we said Colby Sorsdale there. I got very confused. I was going to say I watched his leg bend in weird ways, and I didn't think he'd be on.
Not good.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, they're bringing, what did I say, 4 more on the practice squad. So they're obviously heavily invested in it, but like we were saying, is Manu going to see playing time? Probably not.
No, probably not behind Taylor Decker. Probably not.
And then you've got
And even-
Frazier, who's not going to be available to, you said 5 or 8. Mahogany just has to stay healthy. Like, bottom line, the offensive line has to stay healthier. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, the drop off is quick and abrupt behind the starters, and kind of in an in between period right now. A lot of these guys aren't ready or are injured in the second string on these offensive line positions, and they just really haven't had enough time to develop some of these guys, and some of these guys just haven't panned out. Like Colby, you really felt like he might be it, and now it's obviously he's injured right now, but it's just seemingly that his time's going to be short-lived here in Detroit.
Yeah, it's like, the bar was here for him, and he consistently comes in here, like, really close to getting it, but then it seems like he's got some bad errors, and bad errors are really hard to cover up when people get free shots at your quarterback.
Yeah, you can't mess up in this league in the NFL. You can get away with some of that in college. It's just a faster game in the NFL, and these defensive stars that we've been touching on, who are so good and are paid as such, aren't gonna give you a pass on those little mistakes even.
Yeah,
so
also get paid to play football.
Yeah, and be good at it. So yeah, that's the Lions 53 man. No other areas really to touch on, other than Hendon Hooker, who we all were in the camp that we thought he would not make this team. He would be cut, and he was, including you shareholders at home who voted in the poll last episode. Thank you for voting, first off. And second, you are all right. Hendon Hooker would be cut, and so you're all right in that prediction. He ends up with Carolina. So Lions will have 2 quarterbacks, just Jared Goff and Kyle Allen. At one point, we kind of thought maybe they'd get a third. But at this point, all of the decent options that were cut from other teams have already been picked up by other teams, at least to practice squads. Andrew looks confused.
Did Tommy DeVito get picked up?
Yes.
Oh,
Patriots.
You're right. They all did get picked up. All the good ones.
I honestly, yeah, that was one of the names that I looked at earlier. I was like, did Tommy DeVito get picked up? And sure enough, got cut from the Giants, didn't have to go far, right up to Boston, right up to New England.
I mean, good on Kenny Pickett for getting traded. Didn't have the opportunity, but that was, I think that's where everybody's eyes were, right? The Browns quarterback room. They had so many, and
You
honestly,
just knew the dominoes, yeah, were gonna fall.
right? Somebody had to go. A couple of them had to go. You get rid of Huntley and Pickett. Is Huntley still out there?
I'm glad you brought him up because I thought of you earlier when I saw that he. Guess who Tyler Huntley re-signed with?
Was it the Dolphins?
No, but good guess. Snoop Huntley did not go to the Dolphins. It's a familiar one.
Don't make me sit here all day.
Familiar one for him. You thought he was on this
The
team
Ravens?
still. Yes, he's back with the Raves.
Good Lord.
So
Right
you
where he
got-
belongs.
You got Lamar, followed by Fire Up, Cooper Rush, and then Tyler Huntley, I believe, is now the third string or a practice squad quarterback. I'm not sure.
Man, what's it take to get a Cooper Rush? Good Lord.
He's, if I'm not mistaken, he is the highest paid backup or close to it. Lions famously made Teddy Bridgewater the highest paid backup quarterback a few years ago. Now finds himself with the Buccaneers. But yeah, Cooper Rush's contract, I believe he's getting some pretty decent money, about $3 million a year. I guess maybe I thought it was more, but
I thought
12.2.
He's getting $3 million a year to not play football.
It has a maximum value of $12 million though, so he has incentives and things that could bump that up. Say he has to come in for Lamar and play some action. I'm sure it's like a snap count, somewhere incentive laced contract, so it could grow up to $12 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And also a base of 3 to really. When are you coming in behind Lamar? It's a pretty good life.
It's not a bad life being the backup quarterback, but the headset on, you show up every week. Yeah, it's not bad.
Not much glory, but you've got all the stories still.
Well, he had a lot of good games in Dallas too, backing up Dak when Dak was injured. I mean, he went 6-0, 5-0, I think, at one point in that season. So, I mean, he's living a good life. He's living a good life. Cooper Rush is. All right, let's get back to the show here. Outside of that, that's kind of every move. And, I kind of miss the days when the roster cuts were a bigger deal for the Lions, but it is nice to be at this point where roster is just so stacked that you only have a few surprises, these bubble guys that don't make the team or do make the team, vice versa. So it's off to the races now for the Lions in the preseason over. They finished the preseason 1-3. Probably not what they wanted to see. However, it is the preseason, so yeah. Andrew, did you have anything, or did the mute monster get you there?
No, I was purposely muted. I was just saying they finished last in the NFC North.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that doesn't transcribe well translate to the regular season. Just gonna put myself out on a whim.
Now tell that to CBS News because they were having a field day with it.
Oh, jeez. The media. Well, keeping you informed segment as we head into Labor Day weekend. We'll have college football back. Exciting. We've got Texas taking on OSU, Ohio State, in the big noon kickoff on Fox. That's a big one coming this Saturday on this Labor Day weekend that is approaching. No Lions, no NFL this weekend. It's all about the college football slate. So I just know the college football expert out there is excited. I know a lot of you folks are out there excited. It's finally back. We've made it. We had week 0 last week with the Ireland game. That one was actually pretty entertaining, but this is the real deal. The real deal is here. And then next week, we'll have the Lions and Packers. And 1 week from tomorrow, we'll have the opener between the Cowboys and the Eagles. For those of you watching on the video format of this podcast, you see Andrew sporting the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not an Eagles fan, by the way. He has a hat of what, every single team at this point?
No, I'm far short. Far short.
Oh, my bad, bro.
We're trying though. We try.
What is the number?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. I realized I've got a duplicate Saints in there.
Oof.
That actually could be our Spencer Rattler moment of the week.
That's a good segue. You're right. So folks that have listened, shareholders who have listened to this show for the last couple of years, we had the Will Levis moment of the week. Obviously, he had a pretty substantial injury. Will not be seeing the action this year. Of course, obviously, they drafted Cam Ward as well, so going to see him out there. So without Levis, we have inserted none other than the Rattler, Spencer Rattler. And we're going to have our Spencer Rattler moment of the week each and every week here on the podcast, and we're excited for that. The Saints, I believe, I could be wrong here, but the Saints are the lowest win total in Vegas. They are projected to be the worst team in the NFL. I think their win-loss is at like 3.5. Not good for them. Obviously, a brand new head coach, and not a lot to show for it when you have Spencer Rattler winning out the competition at quarterback. It's just not good.
But Jamal Williams vouches for him.
Jamal make the team? Did he get cut?
Come on, dog. You ain't got to do him like that.
Jamal the way to victory. Remember that episode? That was a good day. That was a good time when Jamal was a Lion and he was breaking Barry Sanders. Meet me at Jamal. It's going down. There's a lot you can do with that name, and so I miss it for that sake in the titles. But yeah, the Saints, if you're a Saints fan, we are thinking of you. We've been there as Lions fans. We know what that's like, and it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. So best of luck to those Saints who go marching. Andrew, spoke to you a little bit about this pre-show. Micah Parsons still out there. Ricky Snoops, the dog was barking, claiming that the Green Bay Packers offered 2 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and I believe a 4th-rounder, and Jerry has yet to respond. Will Jerry respond yes?
Yeah, he'll answer with a no. Pretty adamantly. He actually probably just won't answer him. Left him on red type of deal, you know? Like, good one.
That's what the resident Cowboy fan in my life has says as well. He said Jerry's not even going to pick up the phone.
Yeah, look, Jerry is an old. Geez, I won't even say it. Jerry is a old dude there. He's got a contract, and he believes that. I'm going to say the word. He believes he might. No, I'm not going to say that word. He's got the rights to Micah Parsons. Okay. Micah Parsons belongs to the Dallas Cowboys.
You can say the quiet part out loud, my friend. But no, I know what the shareholders can fill in the blank there, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And I think at this point, he's so stubborn that even if a deal that is too hard to pass up were to hit his table, he wouldn't do it just out of spite.
100% right. The guy's given more interviews on this topic than anything else yet. And this is a pride moment at this point.
Hell, he might start having rallies. He might start holding rallies about this position he's in. Wouldn't put it past the guy. And he loves to sell tickets, so he'd probably sell tickets, and yeah, the rest is history. But that offer is allegedly, that is a rumor from Ricky Snoops, the dog-sniffing rumor catcher out there in the NFL world on Twitter, X. So it does have legs, I believe, but doesn't sound like there's going to be a deal there. But Michael Parsons still out there. We're excited for the next episode that we've actually already recorded. We touched on it at the top of the show. The big prediction show has been recorded. It's in the can. It will be released this weekend for you all. Hoping to get you guys some content to listen to on your drives back from home, if you're traveling home or somewhere for the Labor Day weekend. Then we'll give you some content to listen to before and after. This you can listen to before. Hope you have safe travels. And then catch us on the big show, the big prediction show, where we unveil our Lions record predictions, our Super Bowl predictions, among many others. It's a great show, and we unveil our wheel of the week, which we're still trying to name, by the way. But we're going to do a spinning wheel. Last year and the years prior, we predicted all 272 NFL games each week. We did every matchup and then tallied up our scores by the end of the year. We're not going to do that this year. But we're still going to do picks, but just in a different format. We got this wheel where we spin and we discover how well we know ball. We have every matchup from every week, and we have to spin it live and randomize our picks each week. So it's going to be fun. We just need help naming it. We have thrown out some names: the Wheel of Games, WOG, the WOG of the Week, the We Know Ball Wheel, the WKBW, and Mitch with the Wheel of Weenies. I don't think that was a serious one, though. But I did say out there, what about the Wheel of Wins? Andrew, you've had some time to think about this. Have you come up with any of your own, or do you feel a certain way about any of these? Whoa.
You know how I feel about those Wheel of Weenies or Winnies. We'll let somebody else decide how you pronounce that, I suppose.
Could go both ways.
Wow.
If you know what I mean. Yeah, the wow of the week, the Wheel of Wins. I kind of like that, but we'll see what the shareholders come up with. But we are excited for that, and we'll look for those. Will be released as their own segment too on the socials each week. So that's gonna be fun. We're looking forward to making our picks each week and talking about the Lions matchups each week on the Walkthrough Wednesday episode. We'll be back each and every week, so we'll be twice a week. Sundays, usually when Lions play on Sundays, we'll be here recapping the games, and then Wednesday we'll do preview. Looked like you had a thought there, Andrew.
Oh, my brain's turning, trying to get some more ideas for that wheel. We need some help from the shareholders. We can't think of everything.
No, we have far too much of a lift as it is right now. Tommy especially, and we're sad for him for losing Timmy Patrick. But yeah, we're looking forward to the Spencer Rattler moment of the week. It's a big show. Big show's coming next, so it's one you won't want to miss. Circle your calendars. I believe Tommy's going to release that on Sunday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can catch us on all of those, Amazon as well, podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there on YouTube in the video format, Spotify video as well. Catch us on Instagram and TikTok because you can find our short form content there as well as YouTube Shorts. So we're out there, we're grinding, and we're ready for football season. Thank you all to the Lions shareholders out there. Become a shareholder today if you aren't already. Until the big show, we will reveal our Lions predictions. The Lions will go. Let's go Lions. You'll have to watch for the next one.
Meow.